right. Sunday
Yes, sir.
evening. Sunday evening. I'm here with Brother OTD. This is Roski Mascani, and OTD means off the dome. So you're coming straight from off the dome. And it's a nice evening on Sunday. Brother Iration is not here, so it's just Roski Mascani and Brother OTD. So I want to set up something for you this evening, brother. How you doing?
Doing good.
Good, good. So listen to this case scenario. Okay, now let me draw it up for you, because I want you to come off the dome on this one. So, from the inception of the United States, a lot of deception has plagued the system that we live in, and it plagued the people. So we grew up, Brother OTD and I grew up playing ball, and we didn't really discuss professional ball until we became adults. And there's a thing, we have a lot of people that's thinking that a lot of things are set up like a stage show, a written script, and, to make things seem, like they really are true. And then there's other people that think that everything is legit. So, Brother OTD, talk about sports and its validity for us.
Sports and its validity?
The realness of it. How valid is professional sports, and how is it rigged, or is it not? Or sometimes rigged. What do you got to say about that?
Well, first of all, you take professional football, gladiator sport, I always look at, sports as entertainment, I look at, so if you look at the structure of, say, the NFL and the ownership, okay, I look at that, as I don't know if I even want to call it a microcosm, because it's a lot of people involved. Microcosm usually refers to a smaller example of something, but, you take, let's take the NFL, and I see a lot of slavery in that, I see a lot of the structure of slavery in sports, and I'm using in the NFL as an example, I think that, each individual sports, though, each individual league, you take the NBA, for instance, they're, a lot of Black Lives Matter. They're wearing a lot of the logos and representing, and I think I call that political correctness, because at the end of the day, it's all about making money. It's an industry that makes money, and so the bottom line is it fixed? Well, certain portions of it is fixed. You take the structure of the NBA, and how the ownership and the league and the players association have agreed, to deal with social unrest, social injustice, and things like that. That's, of course, you have a lot of investors, in the NBA. Who are the investors? Well, I'm an investor. I buy tennis shoes. I buy tickets to games. That kind of thing. So really, I'm a consumer more than an investor, to be honest with you. I'm not really investing. I'm just an actual consumer. So the bottom line is it's fixed in that regard. NFL, hey, same thing. They have their ownership that, basically It's very limited when it comes to people of color. You want to use that terminology, people of color. We want to, pretty much control the bottom line. So anyway, as far as any games are concerned, I'm sure individual games can be fixed. A player can fix a game. I don't know who they're communicating with, before the game. I could be LeBron James and call my people up, say, hey, look, I'm about to miss about 14 shots, so we're not going to win. And of course, I'm just being hypothetical, but it's potential. The potential's there. Now, does it happen? Is it happening? Yeah, of course. It's proven in history that things can be fixed. Things will be fixed. How frequent does it happen? I don't know. I look at it as pure entertainment, and that's the way I've been conditioned to watch sports and look at it as entertainment. Just like everybody else. Now, do I have a greater understanding about the bigger picture? Sure. But anyway, Brother Rasaki,
Yes, sir.
what's your question? What are you?
What
are we trying to
you answered
conclude?
it. Well, you kind of answered it. You say it's fixed in its structure, and I understand that. And then the comparison to the slave system, I could see that. Like you have the drafts, it's like an auction block and all of that.
Of course.
Yeah, I see the structure, and you have to kind of accept that because this is the type of system we live in. So it's not no deviation from what the power structure do. It's a fine-tuned running machine at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Now, I have this question for you. Now, let me set it up for you. Black people always fought to be a part of this structure, and they wanted to do it in various ways. I would say if we go back to probably the 1700s, 1800s, you always had those who wanted to be close to the master, in a sense, I could say that. So they did things to get closer and get inside the house and be a part of the conglomerate, the conglomeracy, if that's a word. You always wanted, the slave always wanted to be a part, some slaves, of the white structure. And then you have, going throughout history, they always say the first black this, the first black that. And I've been kind of looking at that lately. Mm-hmm. And this is a question for me that I ask of myself, and then I want you to kind of take over from there. Why would I want to be a part of something that's so detrimental to me? And I kind of say, you take like the first black baseball player, and they said that he really wasn't the first black. You say Jesse, what's his name? Jackie Robinson. And it seemed like all of this first black stuff is glorified. And it seemed like to me that we're entering into their dungeons when we're trying to be with them and be around them. So I want you to talk about that. What do you think about the first black this, the first black that in this system?
Yeah. Well, Martin Luther King, I think, who was a highly intelligent being. I thought Martin Luther King was very, very highly intelligent,
I agree.
And this is what I mean by that, because Martin Luther King was very young and he put together a nonviolent, peaceful movement and things like that. And I'm not even mentioning that because of that. Just the fact that a young man can put together something, good, right, wrong, indifferent, because this is not, I'm not even going, talking about the actual movement itself. Just the fact that he had the skill set to put something together, like marching, and they bring all these people together, to bring a following together, it's phenomenal. But reason why I'm mentioning Dr. King is because, and I've listened to a lot of different people, they'll bang Dr. King, they'll say, oh man, old Malcolm was this, and King was a sellout, and all these different things, And I might have even used that language at times, just see when you're in your quest for knowledge and when you're learning, you kind of you vacillate sometimes because you're learning, and then you come what you might deem as truth. You come into the light. You say, wow, and then all of a sudden here's a brighter light, And my thing is one of my things is not to sit around and try to degrade the ones that came before me, whoever they are, the brothers in particular and sisters, I'm not trying to degrade them. I can be pretty harsh myself, about people, and their motives and stuff like that, their ulterior motives. But anyway, I brought up Dr. King because he said, he said this, in the latter part of his life, matter of fact, he was almost out of here when he made the comment about, he felt that he was leading his people into a burning house. And that's a deep statement. When you really kind of really discern that, really think about what he meant by that, because he spent all this time trying to be friends, trying to be included, and things like that. But I think, and this is my take, that he realized, he's like, wait a minute, what is this all about? Why are, we're trying to be included, but included in what? And so now we were talking about sports. Southern University, Jackson State, Tuskegee, Morehouse, Spelman, Grambling. And, you want to talk sports? Let's talk Grambling. Man, everybody went to Grambling back in the day. Who's everybody? Well, the black men who played professional football, back in the early days, you were coming out of a black college, and when NFL decided to allow blacks to join them, they were coming from, what they call HBCUs. And Grambling was, I think Grambling had more people than anybody at one time. Maybe now, maybe they still hold the record, as far as the HBCU. But the point is, so it diluted, our colleges, our so-called, black institutions, but it was all about economics. You think that the white universities really wanted black people to come and hold hands and sing Kumbaya? No, of course not. It was more like, the writing was on the wall, the signs of the times, things were changing. So, usually, I always use this example of like building a freeway system or interstate system. I remember in Watts, back in the day, they were, my auntie lived in Watts, and the 105 freeway, which is right there going through Watts, California. I remember I used to frequent that area when I was a kid many, many, many times. There was no freeway system there, So in other words, they were telling the residents that they had to move. That, hey, we're going to have a freeway system coming here at some point, and you guys need to put your houses up for sale and all of that. I'm using that example is when they're planning to build a freeway, they do it way in advance. The freeway system wasn't built right away. It took years. It was just in the planning stages when they were basically telling people they need to sell their property. So I said all that to say that they know way ahead of time when something's going to jump off. So again, when you talk about politics and the NBA or talk about these colleges, these white colleges, they understood the writing on the wall. We were going through some changes in America, and so it's like, hey, we got to start opening this up to people of color, I guess. So anyway, they found out it might be a good idea to start, putting some of these jocks on our teams because, we trying to win championships, and that's what it's all about. It wasn't acceptable among the racist population at one time, so that's why they didn't do it. Of course, they were part of the racist segment themselves, but then when it became when it was like being, when the change was on, they, it was kind of like the forward thinkers of the white society were basically saying, you know what, this thing is going down, so we're going to have to embrace it, And so they started recruiting black players, one at a time. And, the public sentiment, now if you look at how the public felt about that, man, the public was ruthless, I'm down here in the South, and, and I've heard stories, I got relatives that broke it down when they were integrating the schools and things like that. And, oh, man, they were throwing rotten eggs at them and, fighting them and, being taunted and trying to be put in fear, So I'm saying is, that whole transition, So King was saying, man, we leading our people into a burning house, man. This ain't for us, really, that kind of thing. So back to these sports, I think that, whether it's right or wrong, I think the people that are able to play the sport, who want to sacrifice their body, their whole mental, whatever they want to sacrifice, period, themselves. They make a choice, and it's a lot of money involved, So, I mean, I what I'm saying is, I think that, yeah, it's a gladiator sport. I know, slavery, they had similarities to this where, black men was like beating up on one another and, they were challenging one another, and it was competitions and things like that. Well, here, it's not all black people. You got, of course, white people out there playing as well. But they've, made it into an enterprise, So, hey. So, you said, is it fixed?
Yeah, that was the first question, but I was alluded to the first black this, the first black that. And then you talked about King and how King said he was leading people into a burning house.
Yeah.
So
it's not.
So now you said that was a pretty potent statement. So what are you concluding from that?
What I'm concluding is he got it wrong. He felt like, I think he had great intentions. Not to take away anything from his style of protest, it was very effective. But I'm saying what was the end game? What was his end game? It's like, hey, I want to eat in a restaurant with you. I want to go to school with you. Well, you know what? In all fairness, though, I have to straighten that out too, because a lot of people, they like to draw those conclusions that, that we're just trying to, we want to be with the white people. No, what happens is you have a structure that says that black people are second class citizens, and you belong, like your school systems that rely on income tax or property tax. uh so in other words, what I'm saying is, prior to integration, black people were doing their own thing. We were very successful. I know people that, you know, watch the Negro Leagues play. That's before my time, but I know people who, we used to watch the Negro Leagues, and they had fun, they ate good, and they had a lot of entertainment. Black people did their own thing, So, now are we trying to be, part of their culture? We want to be part of well, what is part of their culture? We pretty much, there's cultures and subcultures, So I mean, we have our own culture, as a people, I mean, if you grew up in Compton, you have your own culture. If you grew up in San Diego, there's another culture, You could be black and have different cultures per se. And then there's similarities, But at the end of the day, I'm saying is, what is your motive? Do you feel you want to be included among white people? Or is it or you just want to be treated fairly, In other words, during the Jim Crow era, with the Klan and all that going on, really, really bad, harassing people, killing people, hanging people, it was just a terrible thing, because those people feel that, and they felt at the time, and they still feel that way, some of them, that they wanted you to stay in slavery because you were interfering with their economic bottom line, So that's why, and they were taught and bred, with hate, and they teach their kids that, and so at the end of the day, it was perpetuated. And so it was a mere fact that, what, you're going to take something, or you're going to try to be, try to have the same value that they have. You're trying to be on an equal footing. They wasn't having it. They feel that this is their country.
So let me jump in. So therefore, if you have a situation that we're in currently, you have a structure, a systematic structure that began, we could say the concept of the United States, it began with slave master and slave. And indigenous Native Americans were, slaughtered and put into isolated places. So I would say that nothing is really going to change until the victims change, because the slave master is not going to ever want the slave to be in equal fitting with him. So I'm just concluding with that the change has to come from the victims. And I know that's a tough situation to deal with, but that's the way I'm seeing it. So that's how I see that situation. But so now, anything else you want to add to those two questions before we move on?
Well, I mean, I think, I just want to agree with that. I think that, that there's a hierarchy that's in play that, has fixed the field, the goal. If you use a sports analogy, they've measured it out, and they've moved the goalposts, out of your reach. At least they're trying to, and they're trying to keep it out of your reach. And so my dad used to always say it's by design. You know, the things are, you know, the injustices and the things that we experience are by design. And you know, and it's true. I agree with that premise, you know, because, you know, you know, from these sports and everything is designed. You know, it's a systematic design, you know, and we were born in it. You know, we woke up one day and we were here, and we participated in the same. We participated in it all our lives. You know, we played games, sports, and you know the culture that the hand we were dealt. You know, we were part of that. You know, and you know, a lot of us want to see culture outside of, you know, America, or want to be, you know, adopt more of a, you know, African culture, you know, which is cool. You know, I have no problem with that, you know, because of the, you know, in terms of identity, you know, it's like, hey, you know, basically you're trying to, you know, learn who you are, you know, and learn what your purpose is. I think that's the most important thing out of that. You know, more than just wearing a dashiki or, you know, you know, speaking Swahili, that type of thing.
Well,
Because the fact that you know, because the thing is you were born here. This is where you're at. This is this is what you're doing. And so now it's like, hey, wake up. Where am I? Oh wow, I'm here. Okay, now what? And then how do you survive it? And that's the name of the game, you know. So we took on some of those roles that we were given. You know, we played, like I say, we did a lot of those. We took on a lot of cultural roles that we learned. But at the end of the day, I think it's just more important to realize that, hey, you know what? You know, it's true and false. You know, it's love and hate. You know, it's kind of a binary thing that I look at. You know, it's like,
okay,
you know,
so let me jump in with something.
Go ahead.
Okay, now, if you just take a look at the how things are and how they were, so you had these great kingdoms before, you know, the United States. You had Shanghai, you had Mali, you had, you know, a lot of
Sure.
different power structures going through history,
Yeah.
and most of them was dominance and warring, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to conquer, and so I'm looking at that moving forward. You know, you're looking at maybe looking at the destruction of the United States now. I could say that it may be in the fold. Not sure, but you know, things are kind of, you know, the stability is shaky right now. So it is the goal for man to keep repeating the way of life of dominance and warring and all of that, or should it shift to a different type of situation where people are more cerebral with thinking and reasoning, not just straight, I'm going to conquer you and do what I do. Will the human start shifting towards a more humane type being versus, you know, the way things are now?
Well, you know, I'll be honest. I'm not a pessimistic type, but I try to be realistic. You know, I do believe that, you know, it's like what's happening in your world. You know, what's happening in your surroundings. What's happening, and you know, because what I, I'll be honest with you, one thing that I kind of been subscribing to for several years is, and not from a selfish standpoint, because I try to help a lot of people in my own way, and still, or replace information, try to instill knowledge, and I'm still learning myself, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying that it's I think that every individual on the planet has their own reality, and they live within their own realm of reality. So what happens is, if you are in a situation where you're losing, or you're up against the wall, or you're fighting against something, that's your own individual reality. Everybody doesn't have that reality right now. Now, do we all have struggles as people? Sure we do.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is it ain't so much of the system itself as far as you as an individual. It's what you create in your surroundings, the type of vibe that you bring to your environment to make it to help shape it a certain way, to make it more pleasant.
Correct.
Is that kind of where you're going?
It's no question.
Okay.
Hey, but listen, but don't get it twisted. The ills, the negativity that's out there is real. There's an attack. We are under attack. And when I say, who are we? We as people are under attack. Black people in the world is under attack. We've been under attack forever, for a long time. So let's not discount that. I'm just offering us I don't know if it's a solution, but it's just it's more or less a recommendation, more or less, is that
recommendation is what?
You have to tap into your own resources. You have your own resources. And so fear, how do you manage your fear? So how you manage your fear is going to determine a lot of outcomes for you. So if you don't, this coronavirus thing, whether it's real or not, that's not the issue. The issue is are you going to allow fear to take you off course? And
so you're saying you have a walk. Are you going to continue your walk, or are you going to let the outside influences keep you from the direction that you're going in, that you're traveling in?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because each person, each family, they may have some similar set of circumstances, but at the same time, some of the circumstances are different. You got to play your hand to the best of your ability.
Now let me jump in again. Okay, so now I'll use myself as an example to kind of go where I think you kind of sense in the way in the realm of what you're talking about. So what I did was, I grew up with you. So while I was growing up, we were taking on certain characteristics of our society. And I was looking at all the things that I was doing and how it was affecting my life. And what I concluded, well, not even came to a total conclusion, but what I did was I said, okay, all of these negative characteristics that I inherited from my environment, I'm slowly removing them, the negativity. And now I think that since I'm doing that, it's having a positive effect on my environment. Because, I'm an avid listener to Neely Fuller. You mentioned King. I have a lot of audio on King, Malcolm, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark.
Right.
It's a lot of information that I came across, and then it helped shape my direction, and it's been a pleasant change in my life, and so
right.
I think that you can affect your environment in a great way for the good. And then,
right.
then it can extend through how you affect other people and the things that they're doing, and they kind of pick up on what you're doing. And so it's real important. One of the Sister Make It Happen, spoke with her a couple of weeks ago, interviewed her, and she was talking about, how I said, how do you improve? Well, matter of fact, it was another young lady that I work with, another teacher. She said, how do you improve, how do we improve our society? And she said, oh, that's simple. It starts with you. So I think individuals have to recognize through careful observation, analyzation, and a study of self to improve self. And I think that's one way too. How, and isn't that in a sense what you're talking about?
No question. I mean, you got to be accountable for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's what I'm saying. Life is relative to you through the lenses that you look through. You look through, when you look at life, when you wake up in the morning and what's on your mind and what you're trying to accomplish for the day, that's relative to your, to what you got going on. Some people don't have to get up and go to work every day.
Okay.
And then some people got to get up and go to every day and be stressed out about it. Some people get up and go to work every day and don't mind it at all. So what I'm saying is this is not a monolithic situation, man. Every human, every person on the planet has their own identity and has their own makeup of who they are. And it's and what they do and how they do it is relative to what they've been taught how to do it. And so the outcomes that we all looking for positive outcomes, or but I'm just saying it's gonna come out the best way it can, I guess, the best way that it's been taught to come out. The responses are going to be based on what that individual knows how to do, knows, in terms of problem solving, or, if that's what we're talking about, so, and like I say, we freelancing, we just talking, like say off the dome, just kind of having a conversation, but I tell you, I've worked in criminal justice. I've worked in education, years of experiences in those areas and dealing with human beings. And I draw the conclusion that, man, another individual's problem or issue, that's relative to their understanding and their in how they see it, and I'm saying it's so specific, in terms of their own reality. It's like, you can come up with solutions all day, but the key is that you're dealing with the psychology of that person, how they feel emotionally, so you're trying to impart knowledge, you're trying to tell them this is how, but sometimes the way it's the way they're made up, not so much genetically. We're not going in that direction. Oh, like they're genetically inferior or something. I'm just saying that the fear that they have been subjected to, the post-traumatic, situations that that they've come in contact with. So what I'm saying is, it all boils down to who that person is. So, we like to all group people together and say, oh, well, let's all get along. Let's all do this. But a lot of times, people don't, they don't get together. They argue. They might, everybody got something going on, everybody has an issue. Everybody has their own issues. And so when we're trying to fit a square into a circle, it just ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So one thing I like to say that I've done over the years is to deal with individuals for who they are, and deal with individuals whether their strengths, their weaknesses, or whatever, but with respect. And we can all be impatient. We come across some dumb stuff like, wow, you don't know this, or man, what do you, but no, but really, nothing but respect, total respect for an individual's mind, where they're at, Now, am I trying to get them to where I'm at? Not necessarily, I might be trying to get them into a debate of like, hey, if what I'm talking about, is this the truth? That's what I like, tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that, hey, man, don't go down that road. That doesn't make any sense, share, that kind of sharing, so we can all help one another. But so I'm just saying the problem is so diverse. It's so intricate at the same time. It's so many details involved with individual situations, man, that it's like, so at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? So like back to King, you say, oh, I led him into a burning house. Well, he had positive intentions, but at the end of the time, it's like, man, you know what? He's looking at the government. They're like sending everybody to Vietnam, young brothers to Vietnam, and he sees the disparities and the disproportionate realities, and it's like, you know what? I've been sitting here, thinking that we were all going to get along, like Rodney King said, can we all get along? But that's not even the mission. That's not even the goal, is to get along, That might be your individual goal, is you want to get along with everybody, but that's not what it's about, And so anyway, you live and you learn, as my mother used to say.
Yeah, you have you, and then you have everybody else, and you see your way through it all. Now, I want to discuss one more thing, since we were talking about King, Dr. King. He had a statement that he made. He said, what affects one person directly affects everybody else indirectly. So what you got to say about that?
Wait, say I need you to say that again.
Okay, he said what affects one directly affects everybody else indirectly.
Well, you know, there's definite truth to that. You know, I mean, what happens is when something happens, that sets a precedence. You know, so in other words, you know, yeah. So if there was a negative outcome from something that affected somebody else, you know, and it came out negative, does it affect it, you know, the masses? I mean,
Yeah,
it
that was one of his sayings. He had some quotes, and that's just one that I remember. And I thought it was profound, but it's in a way you would say, how could that be? But when you're on a higher vibration, I guess you can grasp what he's saying. You know,
well,
that's heavy for somebody to grasp. I think thinking that because something affected you terribly, then it affects everybody else also in some kind of way. Now, that's kind of deep. I think he probably was mentioning like the wars and just all the cruel things that our system has subjected people to. So he was probably referring to that maybe.
well, you know, like I say, it's, but you know, again, man, I'll stick to individuals. You know, it does start with individuals, but at the same time, groups, races, like say groups of people are under assault. Segments of society, uh, races. Blacks, Mexicans, lot of things that's being dealt our way, their way, and it pretty much it's how you prepare to deal with it. It's not going away. It's not going away. Not in our lifetime.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think I'm a part of this seed planting, and I know that certain things has been offered to me to make it seem like things are going in a pretty good direction. And whatever formula that I've been using, and whatever, if it's working, I need to share it.
Yeah.
And then also the things that's not working, I need to go back into the lab and check it out to
right
continue to build and grow in a higher mentality, I would say, because what we're part of right now, I think, is dogmatic. I always say that. It's primitive, it's dogmatic.
Well,
it's not what reasonable people should be doing.
Well, look, let me interject this though, because I've heard the podcast with the sister J Dub, and you were trying to impress upon her about how the population is they react in a primitive manner. It's not out of it's not an intelligent approach, and I get it, but I get it. Me personally, I get that. I know who you are. I know what space you're coming from when you make those kind of statements, But the reality of it is, okay, that it's a statement. But so how do we get that to change? You know, that's a given. It's like, you understand mathematics. You have a given. The given is in this equation is that it's uh, uh, primitive thinking. You know, we're dealing with primitive thinkers. So if you're gonna approach a situation, how do we approach primitive thinkers to create change within their thinking? Primitive thinkers. It's primitive to react. When you want to burn down something or go crazy, and it's like kind of a back in the caveman days where a guy clubs his take a club and hit the other guy over the head or hit his wife over the head with the club. It's like it's like no reasoning, no sound reasoning or logic, or
the imposition of someone will.
Yeah, there's no negotiation.
Yeah.
No negotiation due to the lack of negotiation skills or conversation or communication, lack of. We react emotionally prematurely due to our primitive ways. We're explosive. But so to address that, though, now that we know that that's a given in the math problem in the equation, how do how do we affect change? How do we change that behavior? Because if we can't change the behavior, we shouldn't even really be talking about it. We just got to consider it.
Okay.
As it's a part of life, and you're wasting your time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when you're in certain positions of influence, I know that, the type of work you do, you're in a position of influence.
Of course.
In the type of work that I do, I'm in a position of influence. I deal with over 100 students each year for the past 25 years. And then before that, I dealt with, in recreation, I dealt with many children. So you look at, since you're in a certain position to affect the lives of other people, now the best thing to do, I think, is to accomplish what you accomplish and then share the accomplishment as far as how to do it, how to get through a day, how to deal with issues, and how to improve self, how to come out of this mentality of destruction to mentality of upliftment. I think that's one of the ways I know that you could, that helps reframe the mindset, because the mindset is toe up, on a higher level as far as system. The system leaders don't want to have no, they don't want to share nothing. Basically, they want to keep things the way they are so they can stay in a certain position in power and in financial. Yes, right. Status quo. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the last words to you, because it's time to shut it down on the OTD. So I'm gonna leave the last words with you.
Well, I think you hit it on the nose as far as that's where I was going with that conversation is, you said share what you know, passing on information of empowerment, and that's where it starts. You can't be selfish. You gotta pretty much share. Working, in the field that I've been in, that's pretty much been my story, the last, you know, forever in terms of, when I meet somebody for whatever we're trying to accomplish, whether you're trying to get in school or trying to avoid, getting in trouble with the law or trying to better yourself, trying to add, to that, but that's what it really boils down to is that the generations that are lost, that are out there, they're without skill sets, and that's very plain and simple, When you live in a knowledge economy, we live in a knowledge economy. If you don't bring nothing to the table, you're going to be left behind. And so when you're growing up around an inferior educational system that's not even addressing or preparing you for this knowledge economy, then what happens is fear, the onset of fear kicks in. And that's when we make the wrong choices, and it can really take us to a bad place, and sometimes we can't even recover from, that journey, to negativity, so just trying to get people to realize that, what, hey, it's going to be all right. You just got to be patient. You got to empower yourself with, knowledge of self. You got to empower yourself with, with necessary skill sets to survive within your domain, within the area in which you live, the economy, so it's pretty straightforward, but unfortunately, it's like I say, dealing with each human being is so it's really, really detailed, and it requires a lot of time, and the emotional side of things, not just the physical, but the emotional side of things of human beings is really it's really a challenge, and once they have went down that road of and they feel like they're on the road of no return and disrepair and just no kind of hope in sight, that type of that kind of behavior. I'm telling you, it's a challenge, to turn that vehicle around. It's tough. It can actually burn you out. If you don't have the patience and the endurance, tenacity, and all the other things that come with helping people. So all I can say is stay on track. Do what you can. Stay positive. Empower yourself with modern day skill sets. And why do you want to do that? Not so much to compete, but to survive. You got to eat. I truly believe that if a person can get off their own bullshit, excuse my language, come off, if they can wake up, then they can survive. They can they can take in some of this information that's being discussed. But I mean, having hope, when I say hope, having trust in the process, is man, it's real deep. Some people don't have trust. They don't have hope. They have no desire to pursue. My grandmother used to say stuff like, man, these young people don't want nothing. And I tell her, hey, they don't even know how to want, let alone want something. They don't even know how to desire because of the traffic that they're caught up in each day within their lives. Yeah.
You saying the scrambling of information is really beating them down, and the environment, is the negative environment is overtaking. And it's a challenge. Life is a challenge.
Yeah.
And like Brother Iration say, gotta have that warrior spirit.
Yeah.
That spirit, strong warrior spirit to persevere through all of this clutter.
Right. Yeah. Which has to be unleashed. It's in everybody. It's in it. It just has to be, it's like opening up the combination lock. They forget, somebody forgot the combination. Can't open it up, and it won't let it out. So it's like we trying to pry into it. We trying to dynamite it. Trying to unleash the truth. But it's deep. It's deeper than I think that this conversation that we had is just touching on a little bit of it. But at the end of the day, it's a realm of negativity. It's the bottom floor. And so I gotta control. I gotta elevate. I gotta continue to try to stay elevated. As much as possible. And that's try to.
So let's kind of leave it there. Then we leaving it at elevation. Got to elevate because the bottom floor is negativity and confusion and all those things. But I want to start saying this. We are currently putting together a website that's going to feature Brother OTD, myself, Brother Iration, and a host of other people, and that's coming soon. It looks like it'll be here in a month or so. So I'm really getting excited about that, and it's about basically learning and getting better. That's all it's about.
That's right. Well, it's all about, like to say, it's provoking thought and discussion, meaningful discussion about some life threatening, life changing situations. And that's just the bottom line. We have a lot of experience, in this life, and so like I say, stay tuned, and
yes, sir.
We, like I say, we just freelancing off the top of the dome right now, but at the end of the day,
OTD.
Yeah, peace out now, y'all. Be easy.
Yes. So coming soon, another session. All right, brother. Okay. So I'm gonna get back with you. Have a good one and take care.
All right. Get back with me now.
Real soon.
Later. All right.